The following video may not be suitable for children 13 and under. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today's video I'll be reviewing this. This is IronTrans IR-V01 Star Blade, also known as third-party masterpiece, slightly stylized Star Saber. And here he is in the box. I got this from Toy Dojo, and I was very surprised how quickly it got to me. I think I just ordered it last week and it came in today. And see, very cool looking box art here. The design reminds me of when Megatron transformed into Galvatron in Transformers the movie. There's the top of the box, and you can see on the side a small robot in the vehicle mode. On this side you have a large robot in the large spaceship mode. And here is the back of the box. You can see nice shots of the figure, high movable, high quality, big size, and then transformation steps here. And let's see the bottom of the box. Now I'm not filming this in my normal light box because this thing is just too big to fit in there. So I have it out here in my living room on this big table here. Okay, let's get this guy out of the box. Here's Starblade in package, and it comes very nicely packed in this plastic shell. Now, I did take him out, and he did have these foam sheets in between to protect certain parts of him, but I took it out. But I just wanted to show you folks how he's actually packaged, which is kind of cool. He also comes with these two posters, which are basically his instructions. So one poster is actually double-sided, and the other one is not. So the cool part about it looks like the transformation should be fairly straightforward. You know, the pictures are not tiny, so should be very easy to understand. So hopefully, let's put this aside, and let's take out the plastic cover here. Comes packaged just like this, with this little package of parts here, and it looks like you have some extra hands, so, and little screw fillers here. So I'm gonna open it up and take all the pieces out. But you have the main body, smaller robot, the jet pieces, the sword, weapons, and the head, and this tiny little robot here. See if I can bring it up close here. Man, this is really tiny. There you go. I believe this is supposed to be the Brain Master. Comes with this headpiece. You have this jet piece. Comes with its gun, which is the same gun for the small robot and the large robot. You have the sword for the small robot and the large blade for the large sword. You also have the main body for the large robot. Now, one thing I did notice, and I might go into more detail here, you can see a little QC issue on the paint. Some of the red that I believe was on here got splattered here, unfortunately. I don't know if I'll try to clean that up or not. I may or may not. I just don't want to ruin the blue and the white here because they seem painted on. And the small robot. Let's take a look at the smaller robot here in a little bit more detail. Very nice blue metallic paint, and I like the white. It's like a pearl white with a little metallic in it, as you can see. So I like that touch to it. Now the small robot is, yeah, I wouldn't consider this masterpiece level, and to be honest, I mean, because you can see over here the big gaps here, like no panels to cover that, and then here in the back as well. But I don't know, I like it. It serves its purpose. I mean, you don't buy this figure for the small robot. You want the combined robot mode of Star Saber. But the paint apps are nice clean details as well. and the back. Now, not too fond of this design. Now, the joints are very tight, but it'd be nice if this thing had some kind of ratchet, because I can see in the future this getting loose and, you know, just falling in. But this is the only thing that kind of keeps him from falling forward. But then again, the joints are really tight on this. When I first started messing around with it, I was very careful to turn the arms and all that stuff just so I don't snap it, because sometimes it felt very tight that if I might possibly snap it like that. Let's look at the articulation of it. The head can rotate 360. Has a little tilt, as you can see, but you can see that little hollowness back there. Now the arms can rotate, but this piece is in the way, so that's a little annoying. So you kind of gotta lift the arms up out like this to kind of get it out of the way. So I mean, there you go. Like, bring it out. So that part is a little disappointing for the articulation of the small robot. I mean, you can, but you gotta play with it a bit to get that rotation, because like I said, this part is in the way. And man, the joints are really tight. So just be careful. You hear that squeaking. But I think once you kind of play with the joints a bit, yeah, see, it has a hard time clearing it normally. You gotta push it up because this unfortunately is in the way. So that's probably one of the biggest negative of the small robot in terms of articulation. Now you can rotate at the bicep, and then he can bend at the elbow this much, and he can rotate at the wrist. That's pretty much it for the arms. The legs can, and again, very tight, can do the split. So notice I'm not trying to grab it from here. I don't want to put pressure there, especially it's like the first time I'm moving the parts. So I'm trying to get as close to the joint to not put so much pressure on it. Not that this feels fragile, it's just it's so tight that I don't want to accidentally break it. In fact, I even unscrewed this a bit just to loosen it a bit. But yeah, you can do the splits like this. Now, no waist. I guess he has a slight waist articulation, but again, this piece is in the way, so you can't really take advantage of it. So you can kind of just swivel a little, like very little. Okay, you can kick this much and bend at the knee this much, and he can rotate at the thigh very easily. In fact, that part is not super tight as the rest of the joints are. And of course, there's no ankle tilt or anything. You just have this piece. Now he can carry the gun. See, it fits in here. I tried putting something 5mm. It's not a 5mm peg, but he can hold the gun, and he can hold the small sword. And just be careful with this, because these hilts are kind of long and you don't want to accidentally snap them, because they are a very tight fit. So I'm not even comfortable putting this all the way in. I guess with time, if you mess around with it some more, you could. Oh, you see, this thing comes out, which is part of, and I'll get that now. Let's put him aside here. While he doesn't have finger articulation or hand articulation, he does come with, put that here, some extra hands in here. So let's take that out. Comes with 2 sets of hands. Nice gunmetal metallic here, but they're basically open hands, which you simply can just pop out and peg in. So you can see it's kind of tight, but this thing got a little loose. I can see in the future you might have to put some nail polish to tighten it if it gets too loose, because this is pretty tight. Do the other hand. Looks like he's ready to grab somebody. Now before we transform him to combine with the large robot, you can take the small tiny robot, open up the chest, and he can actually fit in here. Let's see. You close it up. And here you have Starblade in his large robot mode. Let's take a closer look at him. Now, as I said earlier, there's a little QC issue on mine. It looks like the paint wasn't dry yet and it got some of the red on that part of the arm and this part of the arm. Little scratch here, you can see. So the paint, unfortunately. So be very careful. Everything is pretty much painted. There are some scuff marks you can see over here, unfortunately. Hopefully I can find a way to color match and fix it. You can see some scuff marks here. Even though they added those protective foam sheets, looks like there are parts here that has some QC issues. Paint apps is pretty clean, except for, where there's those marring issues. Okay, on to articulation of the large robot. The head, same articulation as a small robot's head, because it just basically has a large head that goes on it. It can rotate. Now, I wish this was a bit more tighter. It seems like it can get loose with time, and or there was a bit more friction, or at least that these locked in place. That would have been nice. But it doesn't. Now, with the arm, you can rotate 360. It clears it very well. Now, if you open the flap here, you can raise his shoulder up like so, which is very cool. He does have bicep rotation. 2 points of articulation at the elbow. Not fully because of this, but it's there. And the hands or fingers have a lot of articulation as well, as you can see here. I like the design of this hand better than the Civil Warrior's hand, because this seems a lot more sturdier, and it looks like it's made out of die cast. It's really hard to tell. It feels like it is. So you have a ball joint here for the thumb, and then multiple points of articulation here and here, and then you can actually do this. We can even give you the shaka, which is kind of cool. The wrist can rotate 360, and that is about it. Now you can see here this little partial peg where the weapon can go. Now it can rotate at the waist, but it is super tight, and this part seems to hit, so I don't think it can go all the way. As you can see here, this white piece starts to hit there. Now it does have ab crunch. As you can see, he can go this far back, and then he can go this far forward as well, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, no 360 waist rotation, or at least one that I want to chance. It looks like it's gonna hit. Now let's lift up the flaps here. Can you take a look at the legs? You can see this is die cast metal here, along with this part as well in the arms. Now here's the interesting thing. There's no ratchets on this figure, which is, I don't know if it's just because of the design of using die cast metal joints here, if that's allows for that, but I'm kind of surprised there's no ratchets, but it's still not loose. Now, I don't know if time will change that, but for now, it is very tight. And here's something a little interesting. The leg rotates here. Let's lift this up. Also, no ratchets as well. 2 points of articulation at the knee. Again, metal joints. Well, at least here, this part is plastic over there. So I'm not sure how I feel about it. Right now, it is very tight, which is nice. But, you know, I'm so used to ratcheted joints. So I don't know if this is something new that they're trying. And I guess only time will tell if it will still stay sturdy. Now, on the feet, I guess you have a little bit toe articulation, and you can see a little bit of ankle tilt, but because of this, it's not that much. And at the heel, again, no ratchets at all. Everything is just, the joints are just tight. So part of me, I don't know how I feel about that yet. I mean, right now it is just fine, everything being tight, and honestly, this is a little new to me to have a figure of this size with no ratchets, and of course with this weight, with all this metal on him. So it's a very interesting choice, and who knows, maybe that's a good choice, and or maybe down the line, a couple years from now, I'm gonna find a very loose star blade. But all in all, very nice, very articulated, and even though there are no ratchets, there's nothing on here that's loose, so he can hold its poses just fine. Like you can see, I'm shaking it around, it's not loose, even though this leg is very heavy. Let's put them out here. I'm going to get some size comparisons with some other MPs. So here is Starblade next to Masterpiece Delta Magnus. Here he is next to MP44. And here he is next to Masterpiece Hound. Hey, Starblade comes with several accessories. Again, his gun, so he can just simply pull out this handle for his gun, and it fits very nicely in this hand. Let's open it up. So one bad design is this little half hole. It's kind of unsightly, but it works well. It holds it very securely, and I kind of understand the design. I think it's more for his sword, for the stability for him to hold that sword. And let's get his sword assembled. So take this piece, open it up. Now this, again, very tight. Just be careful where you put the pressure so that you don't snap this. And the sword can go in here. Then you can close it up. Then you open the bottom, and the hilt of the sword goes in just like this. Again, very tight. And close it up, and you have this huge saber, which he can carry in this hand through this hole. And I know I'm broken record, this is very tight as well. So be very careful when you put the sword in. It will go, but just play with it a bit because it is very tight, and try not to put any pressure on the top because with this being so heavy, I can see it snapping. So like even this, I'm kind of afraid to push it all the way. So let me show you what I did. Let's take this out. What I did was actually remove this part of the hilt very carefully and actually put the hilt in first. So I took the hilt, that way there's that extra weight of the sword is not putting pressure to make that bend. And then once I got the hilt in and secured, then I put on the sword so that it has something to rest on. But once it's in, it'll hold it securely. Let's close up the hands. And there you go. Star Saber, or Star Blade, with his blade, huge blade. I think it looks really cool, but the blade is so long that I'm afraid like putting too much pressure at the tip of it will cause this to break. Now, he actually comes with this landing gear too, but I think it is for vehicle mode. And speaking of vehicle mode, let's get him transformed. And there's a small jet. And you can open up the cockpit here and put the very tiny robot in. Here is Starblade in vehicle mode. Just a couple of things. In the instructions, I didn't find any place to store the small sword or the extra landing gear, or the landing gear piece for the small jet. Now, a couple of things that stand out that I don't like is the way this head is placed. So basically, there's this little flap here that you, well, pushed that too much, the spudger, that you lift up, and then you basically take the head. Here you go. Here's the head. Flip this up, bring the antenna up like this, and you just place it on top there on that little flap. The problem is that there's not a lot of friction. It easily falls off. So if I were to hold it upside down like that, it would fall off. I'm trying to double check the instructions. I'm pretty sure that's what the instructions says to do. Let me see, I got it right here. So in this part here, you can see the head, and it tells you to put it on that little flap that you lift up and stick it in there. And that's pretty much it. And I wish they designed it a bit better so that it would stick on, if I flipped it over, that it wouldn't fall off. So that part is one disappointing part of the vehicle mode. Now, other than that, I think it looks awesome. I love the way it looks. While it is not strictly G1 in design, it's so close to it. It's like a modern take on it. So you can still have that classic Star Saber look in this spaceship mode. But all in all, very nice, very pleased. It was a bit of a pain to transform because there's a lot of tabs that need to line up, and this was a little bit hard to get in. You just got to line it up because it's very tight. So that's a little downside there. But the transformation is not that difficult. It's just the tolerances were very tight, or the joints were very tight, which made transformation a bit difficult. And because it's a painted surface, I can see that with transforming it and kind of not realizing the tolerances, you might be scratching it or marring it. So that could be an issue down the line. But overall, this thing looks awesome, and I think I prefer this. I always wanted a Masterpiece Star Saber, but I didn't really like the Takara version, and I think this fits very well to be my Masterpiece Star Saber, and I think it fits very well with the Fans Hobbies figures, like their Power Baser, their Overlord, or was it Double Evil as well. So I'm really liking this company and Fans Hobby to be my choice for the Japanese Masterpiece figures. Okay, my final thoughts on IronTrans IR-V01 Starblade, their first Masterpiece offering. So overall, I really enjoyed the figure. I think it looks great. I love the design. I love the look of it in robot mode. and also in vehicle mode. Even with the small robot and the small spaceship, they look great. The negatives for me are while the transformation is not complex, it's a bit difficult due to the tight tolerances in some areas, and just that the joints overall are very tight. I don't know if they'll stay that way over the long term, but just out of the box, they're very tight to the point where I thought I might break some parts. So just got to be careful there. The plastic being painted, it looks nice, but the downside is that you can easily scuff it as well. I wish it was molded in that color opposed to having a paint applied to it on the outside. The other thing I wish, the preview pictures made it seem like that it was more of a pearl white. It is in certain areas, but the overall white of this figure is not pearl white. The other negative is in transformation, that head in the vehicle mode, it just sits there. I wish they designed it a bit differently. It's, yeah, I wish they did. It seems like a very lazy way to have the head just sit there. They could at least make it snap in or lock in a lot better. And the final thing that I'm not sure if it's a negative or a positive. One, there's no ratchets in this whole figure. So there's a lot of metal in the joints. So I'm not sure if that takes the place of the ratchets, because I'm not finding anything very loose. I mean, it's pretty tight. Like I said, the joints are tight, but for a figure this size and this weight in certain areas, I would expect that there be ratchets, and
this one doesn't. But as you can see, it's not moving. You know, you really have to move it yourself
to change the pose here. So now I don't know if that's gonna be that way in the long term, but for now it's okay. I'm no engineer, so I don't know if that's a new type of design for ratchets. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Follow us on social media and check out our Discord. Links in the description below.